the Dragons, and a massive fan base out there. They're a side that has, again, promised a lot, especially this year. They've changed the coach. So you've had Hook come in now. They gave the hook to McGregor, which any Dragons fan you spoke to said it was time for him to go many seasons ago. They finally did that. It's a hard one. It's about for mine. For the season, they started so strong, and you were thinking, because everyone had these guys as a wooden spoon. So I guess when you do your reviews on this side, you go, hang on, if everyone has put this side as the wooden spoon favourites for this year, and they've come out and they've finished 12th, isn't that a successful year? Well, not really, because you've come out and played so well in the first 8 weeks or something to show that you can actually do it. And then all of a sudden it's just gone down the drain. And for mine, the only fault here is the players, because the barbecue incident was obviously something that wasn't good, and that was something that was controlled by the players. They're starting to slowly get rid of some of these toxic players that are getting moved on this year that are we're believed are the toxic players in the group. For mine, though, and there's bits of this for this answer, for this question, and then for the next one, but questionable mid-season buys for mine in obviously Josh Maguire, Bill, and then Billy Burns as well. I don't think they needed to sign any of those players, yet they did, which for mine just is questioning their identity. And we've been talking a lot so far in the earlier clubs who are down the bottom. They lack that identity factor. And for mine, this is another reason for that with the Dragons. They're suffering that at the moment. What are your season thoughts on the Dragons?
Yeah, first half of the year, feel-good story of the comp. Like you said, they were predicted wooden spooners, and they were that. I think they were actually fifth for a long time. I think everyone realised that dip was going to happen because they had a favourable draw to start the season. But like overall, you look, it's really a tale of two halves in the sense of it, and. Yeah, and if you look at the ladder just for someone that maybe missed all the season and looked at it now, like, oh, they should be reasonably happy with that. But actually really dig deep into what's happened. Obviously, the barbecue incident is definitely the front page of all what's gone on there. Yeah, and the mid-season signing is interesting too. Look, I think Anthony Griffin saw the success of bringing back that Broncos brigade and probably got a little bit too happy with that. And yeah, and ultimately, look, it hasn't worked out. But yeah, the interesting side, obviously, they've got some great young players coming through as well. So at least now that they're off the pace, I think that there has been some benefits the last 2 weeks. I think, yeah, just looking past all the drama, I think they should reap some rewards from the last 2 weeks in terms of, and give Dragons fans some faith, which we'll probably get to in a second.
Yeah, ways to improve. You're on a roll, so keep it going. How does this side improve from the current schmozzle that's been the Dragons?
Well, I don't think they, for me, like if I was the Dragons GM, I wouldn't worry about improving right now. For me, it'll be interesting if they choose this direction. But I do believe that right now they should be really selling. This is like, what's it saying? Don't call it a rebuild, but like be careful what you call it. But they should be in rebuild mode, is what I'm saying. They should be worrying about developing the young talent, because they've got some great young talent there. Sorry about there's a couple halves there that I've forgot his name.
I've got the list.
He made his starting debut last week, but he was on show the week before too. Sullivan's great. Yep. He's fantastic. I believe he's a real good talent. There's a couple other names. Obviously, you got Ramsey. There's the incident still happening with Tristan Saylor too, but we won't go on about that too much. But he's still there potentially if it all works out. There's some great young talent. Jack DeBellon's, when these guys kind of mature, he's probably still going to be in reasonably stable, reasonable first grader. He could still be very quality, maybe pushing back into that New South Wales frame. So you've got some great young talent there, but look at when we're looking at next season, that I believe the direction they should go in is not focused on next season. It should just be making sure that they develop this young talent for me.
Yeah, I've put down pretty much a similar point to yours, is that they need to put faith in the young guns. And for mine, they have seemed a bit hesitant this year. And as GM, I feel like we have been a bit, we're started up a little bit in terms of we've had a bit of a stopgap solution this year with some of the signings that I mentioned earlier. Looking back on it, we probably should have just put a bit of faith in the young guns and just thought, you know what, this year is the year to blood these guys and really move forward with it. There's no questioning for mine. If you look at, and I've got the list here, you've got Jaden Sullivan, you've got Cody Ramsey, you've got Max and Matt Feaguy.
True.
Tyrell Sloan, and then obviously Amone as well, who's been a really good talent the last couple of weeks. But they've got a really good balance and group coming through that have played together for a number of years. They've been successful. They look the part. They look like natural footballers, which for mine, the Dragons have lacked for a while. Apart from Zach Lomax, they haven't really had that natural footballing instinct in players for a while. And they've sort of been very robotic with the way they've done things. So they've got a really good crop of the young players. I'd be putting as many of those guys in that I mentioned as possible from next year, and really building with that, as you said. And it's not a rebuilding year at all, because I don't think the fans can deal with another one of those years for the club. But it's a year where we push forward with some really good youngsters. It might start slow. We might do the opposite. We might actually start slow for once and then finish stronger, which I'm sure our fans will absolutely love. And I guess that leads us into the realistic expectations for next year, 2022. And look, we've signed a few really good players in terms of Jaden Suar, Francis Molo, and George Burgess. So it really stocks up our forward pack, which has probably lacked that grunt factor this year. We get that back, and we got some really good, like Suar for mine's that edge running back rower. So it takes a bit of pressure off. Tarek seems to be that every set. Now they can go either side, and they've got some real good damaging forwards to go to. To be a bit negative, Moses Mbai, I have no idea why they've signed him. And it's sort of like what I just said then. They've got this obsession with not putting faith in their youngsters. They've got, for mine, 2, maybe 3 youngsters coming through that can do a job of an Mbai, if not better, and they can build with them. So let's say they throw in a Jaden Sullivan to play 5'8" next year, and even if he does start slow, at least they can build with him for the next 2, 3, 4 years. And they can't do that with Mbai. He's got 2, maybe 3 years left in him at most, and he's going to be gone. There's nothing Red V in Moses Mbai, where these young kids coming through have been passionate about the club. They love the club. They've got mates here, and they've grown up in the area. They love the place. So for mine, I just don't like that signing, but I will give them raps about their forward pack. It's some really good signings there. What's your realistic expectations for next year?
Yeah, well, for me, what I'd want is just, like I stated earlier, is just thinking this year kind of not a write-off in terms of where we finish in the ladder, but developing with that forward. But I still think we're going to be able to play entertaining footy and be, give teams a real good go. And I think that forward pack, like you mentioned, there's some interesting signings. It'll be interesting to see the likes of how George Burgess goes. But I think they'll be good enough to create enough go forward to kind of give us an idea of our talent and where our talent is at, our young talent, give them enough opportunities to flourish in patches, and but not too good that we win too many games, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be the focus for me. But that Moses Mbai signing, I agree. It's just odd. I understand getting experience and leadership, but we're going to go back to that documentary. And like I said, he was one of the older minds in the dressing room. No, but guess what? When they've got a camera in front of him and it's just him and the reporter or whoever's talking to him, he's got a lot to say. But when you're in the heat of the battle, nah. So if you've gone purely for that, I don't like it. And even if you provide leadership, talent, you're still got to be good enough than the guy ahead of you. And for me, I'd rather be playing. I think there's more talent in those other guys. Yes, maybe it's going to be a while till they're going to make some mistakes, a while to get their feet wet. Sorry, but look, yeah, I just don't understand it. And that Tigers documentary is just kind of cementing my feelings. To be honest.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And it's just going to be interesting how they use him. If he's signing up to be that 6 next year, I think the Dragons, unfortunately, have done it to themselves if they have another, unfortunately, bad year.